The Israeli military says it's planning for at least 1 to 2 more weeks of strikes on Iran. And while retaliation from Tehran is slowing, thanks to U.S. strikes on missile launchers, incoming fire has not stopped.
Just over an hour ago, Israel shot down an Iranian ballistic missile over Tel Aviv, as our senior correspondent Trey Yinks was reporting.
Right now, air raid sirens are sounding across Tel Aviv. Israeli air defense is working to shoot down the incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire. This is the 5th time since the middle of the night that the Iranians have launched an attack against central Israel. Israel's missile defense system soaring through the skies, working to shoot down this incoming fire right now.
And Trey joins us now with the latest on the ground. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, hey, Lawrence, good morning. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that the Iranian regime is having trouble coordinating and communicating as these strikes intensify against the Iranian capital of Tehran. They're going after what they call the repression mechanism of the regime, the IRGC headquarters, the Basij headquarters, and other locations where officials were commanding the crackdown on protesters earlier this year. It comes as the IDF released a new video today showing an F-35 fighter jet shooting down an Iranian warplane over the skies of Iran, the first dogfight and kill for the Israelis since the 1980s. Tel Aviv was under fire overnight as Iran is still trying to get off more ballistic missile fire. There have been 5 separate attacks over the past 12 or so hours. Much of that interception taking place overhead of Israel's second largest city. But U.S. Central Command is also releasing some new video showing them going after the ballistic missile launching positions inside of Iran. We also understand the Americans and the Israelis are going after the storage and production facilities there. And while the Israelis are looking east, they're also looking north to the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Some very interesting developments this hour. The IDF just released a massive evacuation order for southern Beirut. This is the Dakhya neighborhood, a Shia Hezbollah stronghold, and they're telling all civilians in this area to evacuate immediately, an indication they are going to continue this bombardment campaign. And tonight, Lebanese leadership is expected to speak about the threat of Hezbollah in their country. Again, a change in tone from the Iranian president and prime minister because they understand that Hezbollah is now threatening the structure and stability of their country. Guys?
Hey, Trey, when you look at what's happening now inside Iran, they seem to be talking tough again, and we don't see much in terms of defections. Is there a sense, is Iran thinking holding on and not losing is winning?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to read you a post that Iran's foreign minister put on X after the news of an American torpedo took down an Iranian frigate off the coast of Sri Lanka. And he says, in part, mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret precedent it has set. And so there is still a tough talk, despite the fact that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, along with dozens of other leadership positions in Iran, have been taken out so far.
Well, I don't think President Trump will regret anything when it comes to sinking the enemy warship with a torpedo. I think it's really cool. This is the first time we've used a torpedo since World War II, Trey.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was a major victory, according to U.S. officials, at sea, and an indication that the Americans will strike Iran and its military all over the world, wherever they are located. And we talked about this last hour, but I think it's really important to underscore here how we got here. The President Trump, gave the Iranians an olive branch. He offered them at the negotiating table a lot of concessions that would allow them to have a peaceful nuclear program, that would allow them to stop threatening U.S. forces in the region and American allies here in the Middle East. And the Iranians rejected his offer. He sent U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner first to Oman and then to Switzerland. And Steve Witkoff said in an interview with Fox earlier this week that the opening position for the Iranians was that they had 460 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium that could make 11 nuclear bombs. That's how they started the diplomatic talks with the United States. And now they're wondering why this operation is taking place. And so there is still a lot of tough talk, but while the Iranians...
Are there other people that were once protesting back on the street again, or do they need the weapons to be able to do that right now?
There are not widespread protests in Iran right now. After Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, was taken out over the weekend when this operation began, there were some small celebrations in southern Iran. We understand there is a lot of quiet support in Iran for the operation that President Trump has ordered, because these people have been living under oppression for decades, for 47 years. And we saw earlier this year the outcome of oppression. When a regime like the Iranian regime faces pressure, they crack down on their civilians. President Trump says 32,000 of them were slaughtered in the streets of their country, or just in Iran, but also in the Iranian diaspora around the world, because there are people who were forced from their homes and they haven't been able to return for an entire generation.
So the Strait of Hormuz is nothing. There's no traffic going through it. The Iranians came out and says Europeans in the U.S. and Israel, you're banned, but everyone else can use it. Can you give me an idea of how much merchant traffic will start resuming in the Strait of Hormuz? And what would it take for that to happen, being that they have no Navy to stop them, but they have land-based missiles that could actually hit them? So what do you think would happen to open that up? I know the world markets would love that.
Yeah, it's a great question, Brian. And when we look at the energy in the Strait of Hormuz and in the Persian Gulf, it's a really important topic amid this conflict. And the Iranians still have these shorter range. The liquefied natural gas production in Qatar has been completely halted for the first time in 30 years. And Qatari officials say, look, this is a significant development that is going to affect global energy prices. And just today, earlier, they were shooting down incoming Iranian fire. And so Iran continues to threaten the Gulf, but they no longer have a navy in the Gulf. In the Gulf of Oman, they had a number of vessels. All of those vessels, according to U.S. Central Command, are now at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, so what about the uranium, the enriched uranium? How do we get that out? Are we able just to bomb those sites, or do you have to actually physically go in and get that?
There's a lot of information that we have about all of this unfolding, but broadly, I will say they have to first identify and was touting the fact that Iran was close to being able to create a nuclear weapon. I mean, when uranium is enriched at 60% purity, it's just one step away from 90%, which is considered weapons-grade material, and that is really one of the primary reasons that the United States and Israel launched this operation, because the Iranian regime kept saying over and over again, we want a peaceful nuclear program for health and energy. Then the question is, why did the program have to be buried half a mile underground? And this is really the question that people were posing to the negotiators. If you're pursuing a nuclear program for peaceful purposes, the U.S. envoy said, we're willing to give you nuclear fuel, and they refused. And so there were many offers made to the Iranian regime, and they continuously at the negotiating table, according to U.S. officials that we've talked to, did not take the president seriously. And it led to this operation to degrade their ability to go after a nuclear weapon and to break down the entire system created around their ballistic missile program that, as we have seen over the past several days, is a major threat to U.S. forces and allies across the region.
All right.
And remember, they wouldn't let us take our inspectors in there. They were saying, we don't have enriched uranium. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Trey.
Trey.
Excellent job, as always.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.